Hi, my name is Keith Cooper at Northlight Images, and in this video I'm going to address a question I get asked quite often about print sales, and that is what sizes to make your prints, which sizes sell. Now, it's a tricky one to answer accurately. Well, first of all, I'm in the UK, which means that this is A4 paper, for example. This is A3 plus or 13 by 19. So sizes are different here. Sizes are different, I know, in the US, for example. And therein lies the difference. You need to know your market. It's fine me saying, great, this A4 borderless print sells really well. Doesn't, but whatever. That's great, but what about if A4 is not a common paper size? So the answer to what sizes sell is the sizes that your market wants. The key, and I've got quite a few photography business related videos you can have a look at. There's a separate playlist for them. And the key is always know your market, know what they want. Because you should always think about you sell the products people want to buy, not the ones you can make. So the fact that I can make huge great prints like these ones on the wall, these are printed on a P7500 24-inch roll paper, so they're big prints. I might like making big prints, but I know from experience over the years that very few people have the wall space to put up big prints like that, and add to that the cost of framing and everything else, and they become not a cheap item. Now, if you know your market wants large prints like this, well, first of all, good luck, and congratulations for finding such a market. Then of course you'll print this size. The size that people will actually put in their rooms, and say you're selling to non-commercial markets, is going to tend to be smaller prints. Different images work better for smaller prints, larger prints. I've done quite a bit of stuff looking at image printing at different sizes, and quite a variety of videos. I've covered aspects of this, but really it's about knowing your market. If you know your market, you know, for example, how much they're expecting to pay. There's no good saying, well, I'm going to undercut such and such. There's a market here, producers, a print will typically sell for £100, say $150, something like that. And say, well, I'm going to undercut that. I'm going to sell it at $100. Do you want to be seen as cheap? Because that's easily how you can be seen. If your market expects to pay a lot of money, once again, well done, then charge them a lot of money. Don't try selling big expensive prints at a market where nobody expects to be paying over £20, £30, $50 or so. It won't work. So it's all about knowing your market, selling what sells. Now, so how do I find this out? Well, you're going to have to do some research. Just looking at printers, because quite often I get asked, what printer shall I get to sell my prints? Meaningless question until you tell me what size prints, what type of prints, what quality levels you're aiming at. All those different things govern that. So if you don't know any of that, any answer I could give would be meaningless. I could tell you that there is an absolutely huge market for selling prints at this size. Panoramic size, double A4. It's half an A2 sheet, by the way, cut lengthwise. I could say there's a huge market of that, and if you don't know otherwise, you could go away and you might sell a few prints that size if you've got somewhere to show them, but it's not easy. It's a size I like for putting up, just putting prints up on the wall. But is it one that's going to sell? I don't know. So if you're traveling around, pop into photography galleries. Well, talking about galleries, that is an interesting conversation I had a few years ago with a gallery owner in a photographic gallery in Wales on the coast, and had quite a bit of chat about things. She was interested in aspects of printing, had seen some of my reviews of that, and had some technical questions. So we was having a chat about this, and I was asking also about the business side of it. And she said that she sold pictures to people visiting the area, and that, because she knew that market, that governed the sorts of prints she could sell. So, for example, the largest print she typically sold was A3 size. A3 plus and bigger prints, a few of those on the walls, looked impressive, but nobody bought them. In fact, sometimes people would look at them and say, do you have a smaller version of that, because I can't put that on the wall that I've got. So you're looking at aspects like that. A4 was popular. Now, A4, that size, this is a borderless print from when I was doing a printer test recently. If you like borderless, just think, how are the people who buy your prints going to mount this, display this? Now, there are ways which you can display it, frameless mounts, things like that, that might look okay. But think carefully about how the people that you are going to buy your prints are actually going to use them and display them. So what are they going to do with them? Are you going to sell them framed? Now, it turns out this particular person I was talking to, they did offer a framing service, but that was in conjunction with a local picture framer at a nearby small town. The prints would go there, they would do the framing, they would arrange the shipping and do everything like that. Now that makes it quite expensive. So there was a range of matted prints as well. So these are ones where a print has been put in a card mat, whole thing sealed up in a thin plastic cellophane wrapper and put for people to browse through. They can just drop into standard frame sizes. I asked also about unusual frame size, unusual image sizes, like or aspect ratios like this, the panoramic one. I said, yeah, people liked them, but only when they came with some way of mounting and framing them, because the expense of getting custom framing made was just too high for the market that she was in. She knew how much people would pay. She knew how much people were going to. Now, this also meant she knew other galleries in the local area and knew equally well that local sells, so she knew the shots that would sell. And here comes an interesting bit. If you're looking at selling particular prints, don't get too hung up on what your own favourite prints are. She pointed to one or two in the gallery and said, that's one of my favourites over there, but I've only ever sold one of them. Just because you like a particular picture, it's meaningful to you, you've got no way of knowing what your clients, customers are going to make of things like this. You simply don't know. So it's about understanding the market. And the only way you can do that is to research your market in your area, or try and find out. The worst thing I get is people say, yeah, where can I sell my prints? Well, who to? If it's as if putting them online was some magic way of selling prints, it isn't. I've looked at this many times, and basically the only people who make money from sites that host your images and will produce prints for you are the people who charge you to host your images. They are the people who make the money for it. Very few prints are ever sold that way. You can ask, somebody says they'll put your pictures on a website. You can ask them what their sales ratios are, how many images they sell. I doubt they'll tell you. Now, the fact that they won't tell you that sort of information should be a pretty good hint that, it's perhaps more in their interest to have you selling your image than it's going to be in your own. It's just a matter of knowing about that. Now, there are lots of different ways of doing stuff. Now, here we go. This one here. This was a print I produced, canvas print, and it's mounted. This one has been sprayed with varnish because the canvas was a matte canvas. And this one here I did a review of a few years ago. It's called the Jetmaster system. Now, looking at it probably on the video, you can think, oh, that's quite a nice looking picture. It's a wrapped canvas. If you pick it up, you'll see that it's effectively a print on a cardboard box. Now, it's a bit more to it than that. It's a bit more complex than that. But effectively, it's a print on a cardboard box. And when somebody saw one of these, they thought, oh, that looked nice. And then they picked it up off the wall and felt the weight and wanted to know how I'd got a pizza box through a Canon printer. It is quite a nice system, but this might look great on a wall, but the moment somebody picks it up, they're going to think, oh, it's a general display system. It's not a sales system. If this image, if it was one you liked and it was on a proper canvas stretcher, so it was a proper canvas and everything, certainly be more expensive than this, but that has more of a feeling of quality about it, and it depends on what are you aiming at. But then you should know that, because you should know what your market wants. So there we go. That's a few aspects. Aspect ratio. I've shot for years on 35mm, which is not this aspect ratio. It's that aspect ratio. People have a great deal of difficulty. A lot of people, I realised over the years when I started producing prints for people don't understand difference in aspect ratios. So this one was shot with the Fuji GFX 100S I've got recently. So it's a 4:3 ratio. This one is a 3:2 ratio. Think about things like that when you're looking at standard print sizes. Now you can take care of it with a matting for the image, or you may have to find some other way around it. But just bear in mind that standard paper sizes don't match up with standard print or photo aspect ratios. So there's another thing for you to consider. But all comes down to knowing your market. Now, go to art fairs if you have them in your area. If you're traveling about, visit small galleries, have a look at the pictures. If you like something, buy it. These galleries need your support. So, always bear that in mind when you go around galleries and things, if you find something you really like, particularly if it's local photography and you're just there on holiday, because the chances of you finding both an excellent location and getting the absolute best lighting conditions and everything on it may not be that high. So have a look, see what sells. And the other thing is, I can only talk about the market that I know. So I've looked around galleries in the US when I've been traveling there a few years ago, and I noticed different parts of the US, very different styles of what you got in prints and things. It also depended on, how much they were selling the prints for. I went to one gallery with some huge prints in it, and they were mightily expensive. But then this was in Aspen, so what do you expect? But anyway, I hope this is of use. Please do keep asking questions, because it's the questions which give me the ideas for these short videos. If you've got any specific technical questions on this, just ask. Thanks for watching, and please do subscribe to the channel. Thank you.